This is $100 bill, right? And it's simplified in just one bill equaling $100. But we could split it up into $101 bills, or we could do 400 quarters, or we could do 1,000 dimes, 2,000 nickels, or even 10,000 pennies, and it's still going to equal $100. Now, I want this $100 to represent the amount of time and energy that we start each day with, right? Each day, just imagine that you start with $100, and everything costs something, right? So you have to go throughout your life, and some things cost more than others, and it's basically after the essentials of eating, sleeping, brushing teeth, showering, whatever you spend your time on, right? After you do all the essentials, then what's left over you pour into your career, your family, your friends, or your hobbies or entertainment, right? Whatever you spend your time on. But it's true that everything in life costs something, right? Whether it's time, money, or energy, we pay with each choice that we make. That's why we say the phrase time spent or energy spent on somebody or something. And this is what I've been learning at 35 years old. And if you ask an older person or a mentor, I can almost guarantee if you ask them what they would wish for, they'll all say something similar in that they wish they had more time. Because at the end of the day, you can always eat and sleep and regain energy. You can work more and regain money. But no matter what you do, you will never be able to get back time that's been spent. And it's sobering to think about that at times. I understand it's not exactly the most comforting thing to think about, but I'm looking at my life and I'm 35 and I'll be 36 here in a few months. And, I'm closer to my 40s than I am to my 20s. And I work with a bunch of people who are 25 or under. A couple of people are, 30 and under, but, they're 25 and under. And although it feels like yesterday, I mean, to me, it feels like it just happened. But there's been a decade in between, a decade of building skills and confidence and failures and different things where I spent time on things that didn't matter and I spent time on things that did matter. And some of those ended up panning out into skills that I didn't know I needed. Others turned into skills that I definitely didn't need to learn or do, but it gives you a perspective on life. And as I've kind of been looking at my life, and I've been doing this review of basically 2024, where were my goals? What did I accomplish? What did I strive for? How did I try to reach them last year? And I don't know about you, but I didn't reach a lot of my goals that I actually had. In fact, when I looked at them, I was a little bit disappointed because I felt like I was very far off. 2024 was a hard year for me. It was full of anxiety of living in a new place and building a life and trying to find friends and trying to learn a new job and be successful at that job. And there was a lot. It was just nuanced. And maybe you're like me and you feel like 2024 was just a lot to you. Maybe you reached a bunch of goals in 2024 and you're going into 2025 super excited. And we applaud you. We're excited for you. And we can't wait to see what you do in 2025. This is not me trying to dog you on that. It's just me sharing about me. Because this whole podcast, that's why I always say, this is a podcast where I'm sharing internal conversations with myself. And I just don't believe that I'm the only one. I don't think these thoughts are singular to who I am as a person. I think that other people think this, and I think other people would love to have conversations about this, and other people need to have conversations about this, but they don't know how to verbalize them. Because half the time, I don't know how to verbalize them until I sit down and I start writing the podcast, and I start saying, hey, you know what, I think I need to have this conversation, and then I start thinking and formulating these words. So hopefully, even if the podcast you don't find value in every single one, I hope that it'll at least encourage you and be with you, whether you're on your way to work or on your way home or at the gym or wherever you're listening. I hope that my voice will be a resonating joy in your life that will speak life into you and let you know that your thoughts are valid. No matter how dark, twisted, or confused they get sometimes, it's our goal to have these conversations and talk them through. And even if you don't know how to verbalize them, I will do everything in my power to verbalize my thoughts. And I think that they'll probably resonate with at least a few of you, if not a lot of you. But I've kind of been thinking about how I viewed my goals in 2024 versus how I want to view my goals in 2025, because I want the end of 2025. I want to reach some of my goals really bad, actually. Like really, really bad. I have some personal goals that are like, to me, they're almost non-negotiable. I'm at a point in life where I really don't see any other purpose of moving on with life until those goals are met. And those are personal. I'm not really going to share exactly what they are, but I'll share some of my goals, probably in a future episode where I'll talk about them and how we're reaching them. But I'll ask you, I'll stay with money because it's easy to view goals as money because it's something that we all strive for. It's something that we all need. We want purpose. We want a goal. So if I was to offer you $1 million a year, once a year, would you take the 1 million? Or I could also offer you 1 penny that doubled itself daily for a year. And I think it's easy to view our goals like the $1 million because it's a known number. It's a known goal. It's a known plan, right? We do this all the time where we compare what other people have and we say, ooh, I want that, right? They have a really good relationship. I want that. They have a really nice car. I want that. They have a really nice TV. I want that, right? It's that comparison that we constantly internally do in our brains. Whatever somebody does or has, or maybe it's a skill, I want that. How do I get that? We see a six-pack abs with muscles. I want that. But how do I get that? Right? And I think sometimes we want a goal, and it's very good to have a goal. I think you should set certain goals in your life and you should strive for them. But how you get those doesn't always happen in the way that we would think. And a lot of us will look at our yearly goals, including myself. In 2024, I looked at a lot of my goals as that big number, right? $1 million. I want it. However, when you break it down, right? If you break it down, there are days where I really didn't feel like I could contribute or make any headway. And so I didn't put any effort and I distracted myself, whether it was a distraction that I gave myself voluntarily, or it was a distraction that I just kind of happened to come across where I was like, ooh, I'm not going to work on this goal. I'm going to work on this goal because this seems more fun, or this seems better in the moment. I feel like I can make some headway on this and not exactly this. And so I'd distract myself. But if you were smart, right, when I asked you if you could have $1 million a year or 1 penny that doubles itself, if you took the 1 penny that doubled itself, right? After just 60 days, you'd have 11 quadrillion, 529 trillion, 215 billion, 46 million, $68,496.76 after just 60 days. Now, after 165 days of 1 year, you would have $1 followed by 107 zeros. And this is why I don't think that we have an opportunity problem in life. I think we have a lot of opportunities. I think we actually have a focused effort problem. We have to learn how to feed and put effort, even when we don't feel like it, even if it's just a little bit of effort, because effort always multiplies and has a return. I'll give you an example. If you want to get in shape, right? You see that person with the six-pack abs and the muscles, and you're like, I want that. And you go to the gym one time for 30 minutes. I can guarantee nothing will happen. If you go to the gym 3 or 4 times a week for a month, I can almost guarantee nothing's really going to happen. You might feel a little bit better because your muscles are a little bit more loose and limber, but you're not going to really see those end results. It's the same way with those pennies, right? The first few days, a penny doubled on itself is 2 pennies, and then 4 pennies, and then 8 pennies, and then 16 pennies, right? That's still less than $1. You can go a couple days and still be under $1 the way that it's doubled. But if you do the gym 30 minutes a day, 3 times a week for, I don't know, let's say 5, 6 weeks. Then you're going to start to see something. If you do it for 3, 4, 5 months, then you're really going to start to see something. And if you do it for the entire year, it multiplies and compounds and gets to a point where it's a rhythm that your body is constantly molding and shaping itself. And you're going to notice muscles being a little bit more defined as you lose more weight and gain more muscle. It's just what's going to, it's what is going to happen. Now, if you go to the gym and you don't really work out, you just kind of chill and maybe do a little bit here and there, that's your own thing. But if you are actually going to the gym with purpose, even if you just go for 20 minutes and put in effort, by doing it over time, you're going to see a difference. I think it's interesting because sometimes I think that I have to go to the gym and I have to put in an hour or a 30-minute or a 45-minute workout and do everything I can. And I need to hit a certain heart rate, or I need to push myself to failure every single time. But you know what? Last week, I was really sick. I didn't go to the gym at all. I missed working out. I really did. When I started working out again for the first time that week, I went on Thursday, and the whole entire workout, I think my heart rate was at 170, which isn't great. Not what it normally is when I'm working out. But it was really high. And I barely jogged, and I also barely did any core workouts and mobility. I just basically trained my shoulders because this year my goal is to work on shoulder mobility and strengthen my shoulders to the point where I don't have shoulder pain when I'm lifting. Now, that's my goal. And I know that it's going to take a while, and I know it's baby steps, but I was so proud that I got back into the gym and that I worked out. But that one workout isn't going to make my shoulder not hurt anymore when I lift, right? I have to do this on a weekly basis. I have to do this multiple times a week over a long period of time. I've seen this happen before. But if I want to reach some of my personal goals, then that means that I have to commit to spending time in the gym, spending time and effort on what I'm eating, and spending time and effort on making sure that I get good rest. Right? So that I'm energized and able to work out, and then I'll have energy left over for my career and doing a good job at work, etc. But every single thing that you give, effort that you give, no matter how small, there is always a return. Which is why I want to talk about multiplying returns. Is sometimes we feel like, oh, this effort, it's like that one time I'm making a choice. I'm going to go do this, and hopefully something will change. Maybe you've given effort on something and you didn't see a change. Kind of like the gym, right? You go one time, you probably won't see a change. I remember when I went back to school, I think it was like 2018. I had a friend of mine who I was going to school with, and we were going through this book, The Last Arrow by Erwin McManus. It was really good. And it's The Last Arrow, Save Nothing for the Next Life. And it's all about basically just putting everything you can and putting the effort that you can into your future over a long period of time. And I remember she read the book and she came back and she said, Kyle, I don't know if I really agree with that book. And I said, why is that? And she said, because I've put effort into my future and things didn't pan out. And I said, like what? And she was telling me about a project that she spent over a semester and a half, maybe 2 full semesters. I was like, okay, that's 2 full semesters on a project that most likely is going to take you 2 to 3 years before it pans out. It's the same process of if you go to the gym once, you're not going to see a difference. You have to go for a longer period of time. So some of us, we put in this effort and we don't multiply it. We do it one time. We put in all of our effort on the first go or the second go, and then we get upset because we're not getting that return. And when I look at my goals in 2024, there were moments where I put a lot of effort in, and then there were moments when I backed away and didn't put effort into them. And that is a really, really quick way to be melancholy and lose hope because you're going to lose that multiply momentum, right? When you do something daily, it reinforces that idea that you can do it daily. If you do it one day and then skip a few days, when you go back to it, there's going to be this doubt that creeps in your mind. Can I do it again? Because I don't even know if I can do it again. It's been a while, right? Last night I was watching the dunk contest and Vince Carter was joking and Shaq kept trying to get him to get out there and do a dunk. And Vince was like, I don't think I can. I can almost guarantee Vince Carter looks like he's still in shape. I think he could probably go out there and still dunk. Maybe not exactly the way he thought or maybe not the way he once did, but I still think he could probably go out there and dunk, and it would be awesome. But it's that doubt that creeps into your mind. I don't know if I can do this. But that effort is always going to multiply if you do it on that consistent basis, and you have to learn to feed it. At the beginning of the year, I started the year reading through the Gospel of John, and in the 5th chapter, Jesus feeds the 5,000. And whether you believe in Jesus or not, you've probably heard this story. But he feeds 5,000 people with 5 loaves and 2 fish. But before he actually does that, he tells his disciples, hey, there's a bunch of people here. Go get stuff to feed them. And the disciples react in the exact same way that I feel like I would. Like, I can't afford that. We can't afford that. There's 5,000 people. Like, that's no. Oh, how? What? Excuse me? I think I misheard you. But eventually they find 5 loaves and 2 fish, and Jesus ends up doing this incredible miracle. But I love the way that Mark's gospel tells the story. In Mark 6, verse 38, Jesus actually asks the disciples, how many loaves do you have? And it triggered this thought in my brain because too often I'm focused on the size of the crowd and the cost to feed them rather than what I can offer to God so that he can use it to do a miracle that changes everybody's lives, including mine. And so sometimes I have to remember it's not about how much money I have to buy things. It's not about how much effort it's going to take to get to what I think is the goal. It's about how much effort do I have to give? What can I bring and allow God to use? Because sometimes all we have is 5 loaves and 2 fish. But God can still do miraculously more with 5 loaves and 2 fish than I can. And that's why as we go through 2025, I really want to challenge you. What are some areas that you are not compounding and multiplying your effort on? What are some of the things that you've tried a little bit? Maybe you're at that point where people, you've started swaying off of your New Year's resolutions or your New Year's goals for 2025. What are some things that you can do to respark and remultiply? Because at the end of the day, if we go back to that $100 effort or that $100 analogy, I think at the end of the day, we all have a couple pennies that we can spare. We all have a little bit that we are probably saying, it's not really worth putting a nickel's effort into this, but that will multiply. And we need to make sure that we spend our time, we spend our efforts, we spend our energy well, because we don't get it back. We can get back money, we can get back energy in the way that we eat and sleep, but we won't get back time that we don't use in multiplying our skills, multiplying our character of who we want to become. The only way we're going to become that character or we'll be able to become the person, right, with those characteristics is if we're practicing it. And we need to put in that effort, and that effort will multiply on itself, and you will see a return. Maybe not immediately, but you will see it. That's going to do it for this conversation. I really appreciate everybody who listens to the podcast. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your week. Remember to give grace, show love, and as always, stay stellar. Peace.